of the Standing Order of Parliament. All committee meetings are to be open to the public. Therefore, please note that this submission is open to the public and the media, and is also being aired via the wireless platform, streamlined on the Parliament website and the media platform. For any sensitive information concerning the matter before us this morning that cannot be disclosed in public, this can be provided to the committee either in private or in writing. However, please be advised that Standing Order 111 in the following circumstances permits for non-disclosure of information, and these are for national security matters, third-party confidential information, personal or human resources matters, and committee deliberations and development of the committee's recommendation based on the report. This is a parliamentary meeting. All information gathered is covered under the Parliamentary Power and Privilege Act 1965. However, please bear in mind that we do not condone slander or libel of any sort. And any information brought before this committee should be based on facts. In terms of protocol of this committee's meeting, please minimize the usage of mobile phone, and all mobile phones are to be on silent mode while the meeting is in progress. I wish to also remind honorable members and our guests here this morning that all questions to be asked are to be addressed through the chairperson. I would like the members of the committee to introduce themselves. Honorable members.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'm Honorable V.M. Pile, member of the Standing Committee on Social Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Pulawinaka, I'm Praveen Bala, member of the committee.
Naka, there is a member of us is in PNG, Honorable Bala Bia, sorry. Please introduce yourself.
Naka Chair, Pulawinaka CEO and the team, Ali Kimbia, member of the committee.
Thank you very much, sir. Ilyas Savanawalu is the chairperson of this standing committee. Today, the committee will be hearing submission from Fasanoc, who are present here this morning with us. This is in relation to the Fasanoc 2022 annual reports. And before us, we have representative from Fasanoc, and I would like to thank them for availing themselves to appear on this hearing. Due to the essence of time, you may give a response brief. On the matter, will intervene with our supplementary question during your presentation. And now I will invite the official from Fasanoc to introduce themselves and then begin with their presentation. Thank you, Fasanoc, CEO and your team. Board members, you may start now.
Thank you. My name is Vanessa Kilner. I'm the CEO and Secretary General of Fasanoc. I'll let the board members beside me introduce themselves, and then I will continue with the presentation.
Naka, honorable members, Peter Rovatu, Executive Board Member, Vice President Finance. Naka.
Good morning, honorable members. I'm Prem Narayan. I'm a board member of Fasanoc, and I'm a legal practitioner by profession.
Good morning, honorable members. Inoki Nimbalawu, executive member of Fasanoc.
Thank you. I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity. It's always a nice opportunity to be able to explain who we are and what we do. And how we bring the nation together. I'll jump straight into it, given the time limitation. So Fasanoc is the Fiji Association of Sports and National Olympic Committee. We are an organization belonging to the Olympic movement. I think I have to put that out at the top as we go through this presentation, because that underpins everything that we actually do. Our status, we're actually an organization registered under the Charitable Trust Act, and we're affiliated to 3 different bodies. We're affiliated to the National Olympic Committee, the Commonwealth Games Federation, and the Pacific Games Council. Now, this is important because this comes to our branding. We actually hold 3 different brandings, and depending on the games that we go to, that's the logo that we carry. So when we go to the Olympic Games, we carry the Olympic rings, and we are governed by the IOC, their games regulation, their branding regulation. When we go to the Commonwealth Games, we are governed by the Commonwealth Games Federation and all of their regulations that's stipulated under their games. And when we go to the Pacific Games, we are known as the Fiji Pacific Games Association, and we are governed by their regulations. So this is key because the different countries, the different organizations represent
COMA.
different countries. Yes.
Let's go back to affiliation, please, the slide.
Yeah, he's controlling.
The question I want to ask is a supplementary question based on the branding part of it and affiliation with these 3 bodies. We're moving forward. Are there any challenges that you face in terms of affiliated to these 3 bodies? When you talk about the regulations, the policy that covers, are there any challenges that you face that sometimes it hinders your operation as you move along? Supplementary question.
Thank you. They're actually more of a help to us than hinder, because they're the ones that have actually been able to provide us structure, governance frameworks, funding to be able to undertake certain activities within the country. So they're responsible for the National Olympic Committees, for example, in country, and therefore they support so that the National Olympic Committees can then support the national federations. So they're more of a help than any challenges.
Thank you. Continue with your presentation.
Naka. Our job, in terms of Fasanoc, our job is we take you to the games. That's what we do. Because of our affiliation, if you go to the next slide, I will show you a... Oh, so we take you to the games, and we've been taking you to the games since 1950, to be exact. Since the 1950s up until date, we've had 1, sometimes 2, and in some rare cases, 3 games per year. That means there's 3 teams being prepped to go on national duties. The games that we talk about are not single sport games, they're multi-sport events. So in terms of going to the games, if we go to the next slide, please. There is a structure, and from this very, very simple structure, can we get the whole thing on the slide? Just come down slightly. Right. There are your clubs. Your clubs are your baseline. Your clubs is where your grassroots development happens. All of your clubs are affiliated to a national body. I will use rugby as an example because we're familiar with rugby. You have all your club rugby. They are then affiliated to FRU. FRU is then affiliated to Fasanoc. So we don't deal with the clubs, we deal with the National Federation elite team. We work with the international body, so in our case, the FRU would be affiliated to Fasanoc and World Rugby. So you'll see the triangle there. To get to the games, only Fasanoc will take you to the games. So therefore we work with all the federations. We have selection criteria and selection policies around how to get to the games. We comply with each of the games policies, and then we take the team to the games.
Chair, through you, may I intervene? I mean, we're talking about federations. There has been some issues raised by the federations for Fasanoc that they were unable to secure to host the South Pacific Games. Can you just update us on that?
In terms of the 20, you're talking about the references to the 2031 Pacific Games. I'll walk you through the process of how it happens. I think we need to understand the process of how it happens. It starts a year out. First of all, each country has to put up their hand and an expression of interest is put forward that you will bid for the games. You then come back to your country and you work within the country to come up with a bid document. That bid document basically works alongside the country because ultimately the country will host because they provide the facilities and all of the necessary transportation and accommodation. The infrastructure's country. Fasanoc puts together a bid document. The bid document is then submitted to the organizing committee, not the organizing committee, to the Pacific Games Council. The Pacific Games Council then does a country assessment. They come into country, they meet with the government of the day, they meet with our sports FSC, Sports Council. They visited all of the venues. Then they actually write a report. And their report is based on a risk factor. There's a number of factors that they judge and they assess across. That assessment is then given to all of the members of the Pacific Games Council country. Then, 1 year later, we go to a special General Assembly where the bid, along with that assessment, is voted upon by the different countries. The countries are given time to present, but each member country already has the bid and has the assessment document that is done independently. And then the countries themselves have to vote. And so in this particular case, we lost out by 2 votes. The members voted against us.
Share supplementary. I mean, I understand the process. I just want to know, because people do ask us, I just want to know from your side whether all boxes were ticked to qualify.
Yes. And we had a very good risk assessment. It was very positive. We had one of the lowest risk assessment for countries. It just didn't go our way.
Maybe next time we have to do more lobby. Eh?
I agree.
Thank you, CEO. You may continue now.
Thank you. So I just wanted to highlight the sporting framework in terms of structure and how we actually get to the games. So who are we and what we do? These are our corporate statements, our vision. Our vision is very interesting because it talks about inspiring Fiji through sports. And the reason this is our vision is because everybody in this room and online will remember what feeling they went through when we won the Olympic gold medal. And that's what we're trying to bring together, is we're trying to bring the community together. We're trying to inspire Fiji. We're trying to use sports as a tool for change. Our mission, obviously, is to enhance sports through collaboration and learning. There's a lot of collaboration that we need to do because too often stakeholders like to work on their own. But to collaborate and learn from each other is a mission that we need to get through. Excellence, respect, integrity, and commitment are our values underpinned by our Olympic values. We have our values, we have our cultural compass. All of those elements were designed for using our Fijian elements because this, when we take it to the world, this is what we represent. And we go through this with our athletes and the team before we leave the shores. In terms of our governance structure, Fasanoc is controlled by what we call Board of Management. Board of Management is all of the member federations. We currently have 38 national federations that are members, that have voting rights. Our board of management then vote in an executive board, 3 of whom are sitting beside me. We have a total of 7 members that are voted in. So they have an executive board. Out of that executive board, we have commissions and we have subcommittees. Our commissions, we talk about medical commission, giving advice, medical commission, high performance commission, education commission. These are some of the commissions that we have. And then underpinning all of that is the secretariat and management. This is where this is where I sit, the operational staff to execute our plans. On the next page, you will see the commissions. I have highlighted sports already, sport education, high performance, medical. We also have an athletes commission. I have separated this particular athletes commission because this athletes commission is run by athletes for athletes. So they govern themselves, they have their own board. Right now we have a female as a chair. The chairmanship changes every 2 years in terms of gender balance. And they really bring the current athletes together. They talk about issues, they help athletes through. So these are our commissions that we have. In terms of our programs, this is key for us because this is where we use our Olympic values and Olympism to actually deal with society issues and community issues. So our programs, we talk about athletes and community engagement program, Olympic values, where we talk about the values of the Olympics. We have Smash Down Barriers, which is an inclusive program. It talks about bringing disabled and able people together. We talk about safe sport. There's a very, very big push on safeguarding, so creating safe spaces for safe sport. And obviously we have training programs where we're upskilling and we're building capacity within national federations to better support the athletes. In the year 2022, we developed and approved a 10-year strategic plan. And in that plan, the most simplistic explanation is we have 4 pillars. The first pillar is solely focusing on our athletes. How do we get them to 2032? How do we get them through all the different games that we have? What support do we give them? How do we deal with their pathways? How can we create athlete welfare? How do we transition athletes, retiring athletes? So it's all about the athletes. Our second pillar talks about national federations and building capacity within the national federations to support our athletes. Within this pillar, we also have the second point called Sports for Development. That is very, very specifically linked to our SDGs. But it talks about development frameworks. It talks about high performance frameworks. Our third pillar is strategic collaboration, and this is where we want to strengthen our partnership, strengthen our governance, strengthen our stakeholders and our sponsors. Our fourth one under operational sustainability is how do we strengthen and become operationally and commercially sustainable, going through good governance, going through communications. How do we strengthen all of that? So over the 10 years, we're trying to really focus on the first 2 pillars, underpinned by the second 2 pillars. That's our strat plan. Next slide, please.
Chair, through you.
Honorable Bia, welcome to the show. Floor is open.
Chair, just on the slide, the current one, the third pillar. Sorry, CEO. The first sentence says that to be recognized by government as an enabler to increase the value of sport and impact of sports programs. CEO, please correct me if I'm wrong. So ever since the introduction of Fasanoc, how has been the level of participation in terms of cooperation from the government side in regards to this?
This particular one wasn't talking about the teams particularly. It was talking about our development issues, working within the communities, expanding our program, using sports people, sports ambassadors. This is where this came in. The pillar again is about collaboration. How do we actually bring it together? How do we collectively use sports as an enabler to go into the communities? In terms of government support for Team Fiji has, government has come through for us a number of ways. We have preparation that goes directly to the federations, directly to the sports. And then you have participation that comes to Fasanoc that helps pay for the teams to go to the games. And consistently, government has come through. We have faced some issues, as we all do, but consistently, government has been able to come through for us.
Honorable Pierre.
Nakasiyo, Unakache.
Thank you. May continue.
Naka. This particular slide I put up to say our why, and it's not only Fasanoc's why, but it's the nation's why. And it's really this feeling of how do we get to this? How do we get the nation behind our sporting people? How do we get this feeling? How can we continue to win on a global stage? Because ultimately that win brings it back to Fiji. The next slide, I just wanted to highlight that while we have won medals on the global stage for rugby, we also have a number of sports, minor sports. They're considered minor sports. But there are a number of people on this slide that belong to different sports that have sat on their respective sports. They are world champs. They have been number one ranked in the world at some point in their career. And I needed to highlight this because I wanted to draw our attention that we don't just have rugby. Fasanoc has to look after all of the other sports. So I just wanted to remind.
Chair, through you. So if you're talking about all sports, why not soccer? Number one sports, Roy Krishna.
Yes.
Why is Picha is not included here?
I was highlighting just the individuals that had ranked highly on their international federation.
Likewise, Roy Krishna, individual.
Absolutely. I didn't put everybody, but there are a number. Football is very big for us. We took them to the Olympics in 2016, and we hope to continue to take them to the Olympics. Yes, next slide, please. Thank you.
So, Chair, through you, CEO, in regards to minor sports that has been raised by the Honorable minor sports that has been raised by Honorable Bala. I just wanted to know on the requirements of how this minor sports gets into the regional games, because if you look at in terms of funding, what is the criteria? Because this minor sports, some of these minor sports, they don't even conduct weekly club competition in the country. But yet, when it comes to regional games, we see them participating at some of the regional games. So, in terms of quality and trying to achieve and put Fiji on the world map, some of these minor sports, they do get funding, but they don't organize anything locally in terms of local competition. But when it comes to regional games, yet they still go and participate in some of the regional games.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
CEO, please.
In terms of individuals, so I'm going to. We have 38 national federations affiliated to us. We don't control their activities. They work within their own clubs. They have their own sporting programs. They have their own development programs. So I can't answer on behalf of what they do. I can say that when a For example, Pacific Games. If the Pacific Games says we're going to have 27 sports on our program, we put a call out to the national federations. First of all, we put out an expression of interest if they would like to participate. From there, they start. Then there is criteria. We have a separate commission called Selection Justification Commission that works with the National Federation for a selection criteria. What comes to us is what we assess. If they tell us that they are holding 3 tournaments where they will be selectors, then only that's what they will look at. Did you host the 3 tournaments? Were the selectors there? So unfortunately, I can't comment on the weekly or the club competitions because we don't deal with the clubs.
Honorable Beer, that answer your question, sir?
Yes, I do understand that, CEO, but in terms of the criteria to approve them to represent Fiji at the international stage or some of the regional games, just wanted to know, like you said, you work on what they write to you. But in terms of visibility, I can say majority of these minor sports, they don't have weekly competition in order to get these athletes ready for this kind of regional games.
Yeah.
CEO?
Honourable Member, I cannot comment on the national federations or the clubs having weekly competition. I can only comment at a national federation. What is submitted to us is what we assess. They submit to us a long list of athletes. How they got the athletes, I can't tell you, but there is an extended squad that they submit to us, and those are the athletes that we track. So if they tell us that they are holding competitions, then we will only track those ones. How they make it to that long list, I cannot comment.
Chair, through you, just a supplementary.
Naka.
I think where my colleague is coming from, that these federations are registered with Fasanoc. So they are registered with certain conditions. If they fulfill all those conditions, then only they are. Otherwise, their registration can be revoked. So what we can gather from your presentation is that there is no direct monitoring or overseeing of these federations, because whatever they submit, your assessment is based on that. Am I right in saying that?
We don't assess, they're autonomous, so they look after themselves. We don't hover over them. We don't micromanage. So if they say to us, they submit us a calendar of events, we don't penalize them, because what we look at is the elite athletes, what we consider elite athletes, to take them away. So again, there's a criteria policy on how athletes go. There's, in some particular cases, we don't take athletes unless they have already done international travel. That is all on the National Federation.
Back, honorable members, want to continue with that? Okay. May I continue, CEO?
Thank you. That was about Fasanoc. I wanted to give you an overview. The next section is really coming to the questions and to our annual report 2022. So the first section in particular was talking about financial performance. We can go on to the next slide. And it really asked about our funding stream. So I've broken it up into 2 slides. Yes. So Fasanoc, we're not a commercial entity. We don't raise funds commercially. We rely heavily on grants and sponsorship. IOC is obviously our major funder. They're the ones that have been supporting largely our administration, our courses, our programs, our development program, some preparation funds we've been able to get for them, trainings for administrative capacity building within the National Federation, and obviously the development of our athletes and our entourage. Team Fiji, which is the team that goes, that is the brand. So Fasanoc is the organization. Out of Fasanoc is Team Fiji. We're in business to support Team Fiji. Team Fiji, we pride ourselves with a three-way partnership. And that's basically funds from Fasanoc, from government, and from the national federations for participation in these games. In terms of 2022 in particular, if we just stay on that slide, and you have this in front of you, can we just go back, just stay on that slide, go back up, please. So your pie chart will have basically where our money comes from in terms of percentage. You have it in our financial statements and in the report that was submitted to you. I also have a graphical representation. So our total income, majority actually is for Team Fiji in green. I've separated both government contribution in 2022 into two colors. The first one is participation. That came directly to Fasanoc to help send the team away. The next red bar is government preparation. That goes directly to the federations to help the teams prepare. So even though it came through to Fasanoc, the criteria was it was directly for the sports. So we facilitated that on government's behalf. That's why those two are separated. Thank you. Next slide.
CEO, I may on that presentation PowerPoint, just go down, Secretary. By looking at the graph and the development, when you look at the pie charts in front of us, you did mention that the government come into the picture in terms of, I'm not sure whether it's a grant or how do they help you out in that sense. Based on the data that's been provided, this is a 2022 annual reports. If you go back for the last 3 or 4 years down the line, what are the trends that you look at in terms of contribution from the grant from the government? Are there any increase or are there any changes? We will
Over
be
the last,
interested.
since 2022?
Yeah, the report is based on 2022,
Okay.
but to get your factual in terms of having the trend backward, we'll be able to analyze how does the grant from government
Yeah.
actually providing support to Fasanoc, whether it's viable or we need to increase or it's sufficient or whatever.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the grant that comes from government is very specific to Team Fiji. I'm going to leave Fasanoc aside for a moment, because Fasanoc, we're then talking about administration, and there's no funding from government for that. It is specific to sending the team for Team Fiji. I can tell you over the years, the three-way partnership went back many, many years, and it was a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 formula. 1/3 Fasanoc would pay, 1/3 government would pay, 1/3 the national federations would pay. And that was the total cost of sending Team Fiji away. In reality, the national federations don't pay 1/3. Fasanoc often subsidizes their portion. They end up paying perhaps 20% instead of the 33%. In many cases, over the recent past, government has come through with their 1/3. 2022, which is the year that we're talking about, government, we had 2 games that particular year. Government didn't come through with 1/3 for either of the games. They chose to provide 250,000 towards the Commonwealth Games. The total budget of that games was 1.5 million as per the annual report. Since then, government has been fulfilling 1/3. Our issues stems around our Pacific Games and the funding around the Pacific Games and the mini games. And the reason I raise this is because that is the games, that is the feeder games into the Commonwealth and the Olympics. Therefore, the base of the team that we send is quite large. In particular, we sent a delegation of 500 to the Solomons. You will never ever see that size delegation going to the Commonwealth and to the Olympic Games. So therefore, the support that the nation and we all need to give that particular games to support our teams, I think needs to be taken into consideration. We recently came back from Palau this year, and government came through for us. It was amazing. They paid their 1/3. We were able to take 2 charters. We topped the table. We went from 7th to 2nd. And that just shows when there's support for these athletes from preparation stage to participation stage, the outcome is there.
Thank you, ma'am. May I continue?
Chair,
Yes, Honorable
Chair,
Bia.
through you. CEO, in regards to this three-way partnership, Fasanoc, government and the national federations in terms of funding to take our athletes to these games, do you think it is fair when the onus is on the national federations to pay their part of the partnership in terms of taking the athletes to the games? I mean, the highest honor ever in our country is for you to represent our country at any game or at any international event. But do you think it is fair for this national federation to levy in terms of when they need to pay up the amount in terms of the three-way partnership, this national federation, they again levy these athletes if they want to represent Fiji at these games? I can clearly remember just recently at the Palau mini games, I think one of the volleyball teams, it's either the women, I think both the women and the men's team, they were levied, I think, $3,000. One of the players from the women's team can't even make it to the team because of the levy that was put on the players. Do you think it is fair? This is fair to the players?
CEO, you can answer that question.
Thank you. It is absolutely not fair. And I am going to correct the misconception. The levy is towards the National Federation, not the athlete. It is the National Federation. They have to do their part in terms of fundraising consistently in sending their and developing their teams. Fasanoc has never ever burdened athletes. In terms of volleyball, it was unfortunate that some federations levied their athletes, but that is not the mandate of Fasanoc. Our job is to protect that athlete and surround them with the support that they need. The levy that was put onto the National Federation, again, was heavily subsidized. It cost $15,000 per person to go to Palau.
Thank you, CEO, for that statement, because I really feel sorry for some of these athletes when they're being told to look for their levies in terms of their participation to some of these federations. But I thank you for that statement.
Naka.
Thank you, sir. Madam, you may continue with the presentation.
Thank you. In terms of our expenses,
Sorry, Chair, through you. Just see, this is what we were discussing earlier on the national federations. If they don't tick all the boxes, I mean, they cannot be just registered for the sake of being registered. So what sort of actions do you people take? I mean, this is a classic example, what my honorable colleague has said, and we have basically discussed about this earlier on, about these national federations. Because, as you have mentioned, there is no direct monitoring, no overseeing. It's just that the reports that they present, that is the basis of your assessment. So if they fail to do that or continue to do that, how are you going to, what is the solution for that?
that's a good question, Honourable Member. We can only monitor what they submit. If they submit their annual general meeting minutes, if they submit their financials, if we do a call out and they respond and they participate in developing criterias, I cannot penalize them because I don't control, I don't monitor their activities.
So, Chair, through you. So, what's the solution?
There's personally, I always tell the athletes, I tell the athletes and I tell the entourage. The entourages are supporting people around the athletes. At the end of the day, we are all, not only are we all volunteers, but we have put our hand up to be in a position. And I often tell them, you make sure that you elect people that are willing to work and support you. Because how else are they going to take ownership over their athletes? We do have to get to a point where national federations have to stop levying athletes. Absolutely, 100%. But the only way that I can do it within my own control is to build capacity within the national federation. But if we're building capacity and they're not doing something, I still don't have the grounds to penalize them. No, because they comply in terms of all other things. I can't penalize them for not fundraising. I can't penalize, you know?
Continue, Madam.
Thank you. In terms of our expenses, obviously you will see the major expenses that we have is Team Fiji, is sending the team away. All the other expenses is Fasanoc, which is our admin and our operating expenses, our going into market, our supporting the national federations. That's basically the 75% of our expenses is Team Fiji. Next one, thank you. The question was posed around policy and regulatory changes, and if there was any changes that happened during that period that significantly impacted us. Obviously, in 2022, the most significant shift was COVID and coming out of COVID and opening up borders. It allowed sporting teams to travel. It allowed us to travel. We took 2 teams to the Pacific Mini Games in Saipan and to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. So that was the biggest change. In terms of funding, I suppose the biggest impact was the limited funding at that particular time. The last point there is the national federations, and I wanted to highlight this even though I have no control over the national federations. But the national federations who wanted to focus on grassroots development, because you need a pathway to start getting athletes. In focusing on their grassroots development, there was very, very little funding because at the time, the funding was very, very specific on medals and international ranking. So therefore, those that were trying to develop within country suffered a little bit. The next page.
Yeah, Honorable Chair, through you,
Go ahead, Madam.
I have a question. This report is for the year 2022. As we all know, prior to that, we had COVID-19, and we all know that teams didn't travel during those times. And in 2022, our borders opened, while there were countries still with some restrictions. My question is, what are the lessons that has been learned during those years, and what sort of support was provided by Fasanoc with the assistance of the federation to the trainers or the athletes, because a lot of effort was, lot of time, lot of money was spent to provide the training and all the support to the athletes, and all of a sudden it all stopped. And then in 2022, it opened all the restrictions taken away, and Fasanoc was preparing to take the team. So what was the support provided in between, and in regards to keep these athletes wherever they were, to have those trainings provided online or whatever? What sort of support was there, and what were some of the challenges, and what are some of the lessons learned? Thank you.
Naka, the COVID period, obviously a global issue, everybody was impacted. I do know that there were individual sports that continued, and they would train individually, so in their own homes, and they would compete online. Um, I know there are people that were accredited online to become officials so that they can monitor. In terms of team sports, I understand that there were bubbles where these team sports were not forced is the wrong word, but had to comply with our COVID restrictions and stay within each other so that they could continue to train. And that was the bubble that they created around sports. I suppose there's many lessons out of COVID-19 that everybody can learn from. Significantly is the need to adapt, I think is most important, is the need to adapt, is to be able to recondition. And as athletes is one of the very few people that are like chameleons that are able to adapt to the different environments. But it forced the administrators and the entourage, so the coaches and the trainers, to also adapt. So there were trainers working with their athletes over Zoom. So things like that happen. And it really challenged us in the digital space is what we did.
Thank you, ma'am. You may continue.
Naka. In the year 2022, we didn't get funding for the Pacific Mini Games. I can only assume government had its priorities, and that's fine. But I also wanted to clear up a misconception about the mini games. The mini games is not a youth games, because too often I hear, oh, our athletes are too elite, we won't go to the mini games because that's for juniors. That's not entirely correct. The mini games is hosted by smaller nation countries. So the Pacific Games Council has 22 members. The Pacific Games are hosted by large countries that can have the full program. The mini games are given to smaller nations that can only host a limited number. So your elite athletes are still going. The games itself are very, very pivotal because it's in the beginning of what we call a quadrennial. A quadrennial is 4-year term ending with the Olympic Games. Generally, what happens is with the mini games, by supporting the mini games, we're starting to see new athletes come out, and we track their development and their progress into the Olympics. And that's why the mini games and the Pacific Games are feeder games into the bigger games. Next. Thank you. The next question and segment was around infrastructure development and what projects were undertaken in 2022 and how we ensure our sustainability in terms of our development plans. Our approach to infrastructure is we're not a builder. That's why we partner with government, because government through the Sports Council provides the facilities. We're about facilitating and advocating. So we fit into a national framework, and we talk and we promote institutional sustainability. So in terms of infrastructure, we have what we call soft infrastructure. We emphasize on capacity building. We're investing in our athletes, in our coaches, in our officials, in our administrators. And really, this is largely funded by IOC going to market. Can I also add in here, we were gifted a property in Turak, and the property is still there. It's undeveloped. We were in the process of bringing that development when COVID hit. So we've put that on the back burner, and we're bringing that back to the table now. But we were gifted a property, and we intend to, in terms of infrastructure, build a particular building to support and help the national federations. What that looks like at this stage, we haven't quite agreed. There's a number of concepts that we're looking at, but that's what we have. But in terms of infrastructure, in terms of sporting facility, we rely heavily on the Fiji Sports Council for that. Thank you. Next slide.
Chair, through you, do
Go
you
ahead,
have
Honorable.
any MOUs with municipal councils? I believe only one that has got track, the Slotoka City Council. Do you have any MOUs with them for the uses of the track?
No. The Fiji Sports Council, we don't have an official MOU. The Fiji Sports Council has come through significantly for national teams. So often we write to them and say, we have a team, the teams have been finalized, these are their training, and they've often come through with concessionary and access to venues, which has been good.
I was talking about municipal councils.
Oh,
No, eh?
no, we don't.
Thank you, ma'am. May I go ahead?
Okay. The next section focused on public engagement and transparency. It talked about decision making. So Fasanoc is, the foundation of Fasanoc is basically in our charter, and it governs all powers. I showed you the framework in terms of our governance framework from the Board of Management right through, but the charter actually spills out and highlights exactly what that power actually entails. Our next one, thank you. We were asked about performance and how it's performed against the operational and strategic plans, and to highlight our future development. So in terms of 2022, obviously, coming out of COVID, it presented a wonderful time for us to be in a transitional phase, and that's when we developed a 10-year strategy from 2022 to take us to Brisbane 32. Brisbane 32 is key because it's within our region. It's key because it's challenging us and it's forcing us not only to start picking athletes now and to develop them, but we want to try and use Brisbane 32 as an opportunity within Fiji to try and draw more international traffic, sporting traffic. So whether we're hosting qualifying events in country for Brisbane 32 is what we need to be able to focus on. So I think we just need to come together. So that's why our strategic plan took us to Brisbane 2032. In terms of our areas of strength and performance out of 2022 was obviously our rugby success. In Birmingham, we came back with 2 silvers, the promotion of obviously the Olympic values, and the challenges during that time and the ongoing work was the limited financial support towards games participation at the time. And obviously the limitation to a national high performance or a national sporting framework so that everybody knows what each person is doing. Then we can safely take the elite athletes away and start conditioning them at a national level.
Honorable Chair, through you. Madam, is that strategic plan finalized and approved
Yes.
already?
Yes, it was finalized in 2022 and it was passed at the annual General Assembly.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
The other thing that we wanted to, as a challenge, was broadening our medal base beyond rugby. Because obviously rugby is our national sport. We will always be behind rugby. But we just need to broaden our space. We need to recognize the other sports, recognize football and their pathway going into World Cup, which we don't deal with, but obviously the pathway into the World Cup will lead them into the Olympics. We've had a number of different sports that have qualified outright as well. And we just wanted to highlight this as an ongoing challenge. In terms of our future, as per our strategic plan, and I've highlighted this before in the 4 pillars. Obviously, the first pillar was providing athlete support into Brisbane 32. It's about long-term athlete development pathways. It's about high performance needs. and obviously trying to work with government to see what that national sporting framework is. And then obviously our second pillar is to strengthen the capability and capacity of national federations so they understand their responsibility to their elite athletes and not putting the pressure on their athletes, not penalizing their athletes by having to fundraise. And that's really what the aim is. We also actively support national federations that bid to host international tournaments in Fiji because, again, it highlights Fiji's capacity and ability to host these international tournaments. We've had a number of Oceania tournaments in Fiji. We've had a number of Oceania games, number of different sports, and this is what we encourage because it's now starting to open up the world, the global eyes, in saying that Fiji is possibly able to host the world, the global qualifying tournaments. And that's really our aim, is how do we strengthen that within country to start hosting these tournaments. The
Madam
next
CEO,
section, so
I mean, when you talk about these international games to come over to Fiji, do we have the resources and the capacity currently to host them?
the short answer, the short answer would be yes. There is a but. We have the facilities, absolutely 100%, but they are aging and we need them to be upgraded because this is what the international federations are looking at, that our facilities are compliant. So while we do, they have to be upgraded. The second thing is Fiji is one of the only countries within the Oceania region that has a number of technical expertise. So whenever there's a Pacific Games, wherever it is in the Pacific, majority of our technical officials actually come from Fiji. This tells us that we have to continue to invest in our people. The investment in our people, in accrediting them as a technical official, now we need the facilities to back up to be able to host.
So in terms of, when you talk about aging of these property, are there any plan ahead in order for you to relook at the upgrading of your facilities? Because this is a must. If they need be to come over and you have a checklist to see the standards that we are in, are there any plans of upgrading our facilities at this present of time?
So thank you. That is beyond the scope of Fasanoc, as the facilities belong to Fiji Sports Council under government. We have encouraged them to continue to reach out to try and get what that checklist is, because I understand in the past they have developed facilities that have become international compliant to hold international tournaments. So we actually encourage the Sports Council, we encourage Ministry to actually, we're just going to connect. We connect with the International Federation to ensure that we have the right, but that is beyond our scope.
Thank you very much. We will continue.
Naka. Thank you. In terms of the next segment was about the SDGs and gender. We were asked about our alignment to SDGs and how important it is, how important does Fasanoc consider a gender balance. The first point is we are explicitly integrated with our SDGs. Because we believe in the power of sport, we believe in the power of athletes to convince, we believe in athlete ambassadors, and we use them to be able to go out to societies. In particular, I will raise a particular program that we have. It's called the Fasanoc Athlete and Community Engagement Program. In short, it's called ACE. This particular program directly impacts 2, 4, 6, 7 SDG goals. It talks about NCDs, it talks about saying no to drugs, it talks about Stopping HIV, Go Green and Equality. This program has been in the market for over 10 years now. We often work with the Fiji Sports Commission and their development officers when they go out into the communities. The development officers often work with the community on sports programs. The ACE program go and talk about these issues. I will show you a little bit about them later. In terms of gender equality, next, thank you. In terms of gender equality, this is not a tick in the box exercise for Fasanoc. We believe you will see it in our leadership right from our executive committee. Our president has been a female for the last quad. We have a new female president. The CEO and the SecGen is a female. The chair of our athletes commission is a female. We had a woman in sports commission that focused specifically on trying to encourage women and girls to participate in sports. So we went to market to encourage. This was very specific. This commission was in place for maybe 10 years? More than 10 years? We no longer have the commission because we have embedded it in our programs. Next slide, please. Thank you. On our strategic plan, which I've highlighted before, I just wanted to circle that because it's called Sports for Development. This is where we champion using sports to move. So it sits very prominently on our strategic plan. Next slide, please. In terms of our athletes and community engagement program, I just wanted to highlight, because this is our flagship program. We use it to encourage, engage, and empower athlete leaders. So we train these athletes to go into the communities and talk about the different values. This particular program has won an international award through the IOC. It's been recognized. It's been recognized by the Ministry of Health because we go with their team. It's been recognized by the Ministry of Sport. Next slide, please. I just wanted to show you the impact that we have in the communities, because it is at this level that we need to engage, because this is the level, the foundational level that takes them through, and this is where we need to combat. The next slide, we have a gender, in terms of 2022, this was our table. So you can see we were largely controlled by females. There's an even balance now, and our staff had a nice balance as well. At the time, and still continues today, our president and our CEO, Secretary General, were females. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I open the floor to questions. Thank you.
Nick, thank you very much for the nice in-depth presentation to the committee. Honourable members, are there any further supplementary questions before we wrap it up our meeting this morning? Honourable Bia, you're still on the line, sir?
Chair, through you. So just wanted to know, when government prepares their budget, do you do submission as well? Because why I ask this question, CEO, you know, as much as we want to see that the welfare of our athletes is paramount, the only thing that we can do is assist. I know that through the Fiji Sports Commission, all these federations have been able to assist. But to help you, because when these athletes leave our shores, it's Fasanoc that comes, their name comes in because they are prepared and go, Fasanoc sends them. Because we want to help you and ensure that our athletes are 100% fully prepared, their welfare is all right, everything about them is ensure that it is okay before our athletes leave our shores. So I just wanted to know, do you do submission as well in terms of budget allocation for government to try and assist you?
Thank you, Honourable Member. I have to admit, our submissions thus far into government has been very, very specific to Team Fiji. All of our submissions over the years, it was very, very specific to Team Fiji. We submit the total games budget, and we've been asking government for 1/3 to send the team. We haven't gone beyond to ask for support in terms of what we've been doing. I can say that we haven't done that, but it's possibly an area that I think we all need to look into, because Fiji is one of the only countries in the Pacific, bar Australia and New Zealand, that try and travel with a psychologist. We travel with a full medical team, and that's at games. What we need to do is we need to start bringing that home and providing that support to the athletes prior to leaving.
Thank you, CEO. Chair, through you, I guess that should be an important recommendation of this committee.
Yes.
The welfare of our athletes is paramount, and we need to do whatever we can to help Fasanoc prepare our athletes well. Vinaka.
Naka.
Thank you very much, Honorable Beer, for the in-depth information regarding the contribution of the government of the day. I believe there will be a lot of discussion on that when we sit down as a committee, as we believe once they're out, as Team Fiji, they're representing the whole nations. And we have that ubiquity for supporting the team in terms of whatever we have already discussed today. On that note, honorable members, at this juncture, I wish to sincerely thank all Fasanoc team for availing ourselves for this public hearing session. We thank you for your time and hope that you will avail yourself for any further queries that the committee may feel to have some further queries on the subject matter based on the 2022 annual reports. For your information, I now declare this meeting closed.
Naka.
Thank you.
Naka.